Hello, welcome to West Ham Confidential here on Irons United with me, Afkaswara. Well, what a week it's been in the West Ham world. As we know, we're in the grips of this coronavirus, this COVID-19. It's playing havoc with everything, everybody's daily lives. And, whilst lots of people are talking about the season, how it's going to end, all the different possibilities, it's a very fluid situation. We actually really don't know what's going to happen. Just for this morning, we're trying to carry on as normal, and then up pops a story, a rumour, I should say, that Diop is maybe off to Arsenal, or they may show an interest. But, who knows what's going to happen in the summer, even if we do have a footballing summer, in inverted commas. As I say, it's a very fluid situation. I mean, some of the things that we're talking about now in terms of, whether the season can be finished, can it be continued, how long is this going to go on for? For me, in many ways, it's a kind of a moot point. The whole virus thing is a bit of a moot point, because whilst there is an immediate need to protect people and to protect the most are vulnerable in society, of course, the elderly, the infirm, and obviously the young. We've also got to look at the other big issue, which is going to affect everybody, and that's the economy. And this is kind of now starting to dawn on a lot of people. And I was kind of talking about this when it first came out in China. I said, well, look, the economy over there is going to be crucified, decimated really, and that's going to have a global impact. And as we've already seen, stock markets have crashed and all this kind of stuff. It's an ongoing issue. But let's just bring it back to football. How does that affect us as a club, as a footballing community, as everybody? Well, let's just take it from the lower leagues first of all. What we're probably going to see, if this carries on for much longer, is that the lower league clubs, the non-league clubs, all these kind of bodies, if you will, the ones that don't earn the big TV revenue money, that rely on gate receipts, they rely on money coming into the ground, and then other supporting businesses being able to advertise with them, local businesses that is. Well, if everybody's going out of business, everybody can't work, then nobody's going to be able to go to the football matches anyway. And even if they were allowed to, maybe they won't have the disposable income to go. So you're probably going to see, unfortunately, dare I say it, clubs going out of business. And we're not just talking about one or two, we're talking huge swathes of businesses up and down the country. I mean, it's not good. It's not good at all. So whilst we kind of sit here and we kind of speculate what's going to happen to the West Ham season or to the Premier League season, I think we need to spare a thought for all those businesses, all those football clubs, all those people, you and I, people all over the world, let's say, but in this country as well, that are going to have really serious hard times if this continues. We're already seeing it in the airline industry. We're seeing it on the railways. They're virtually on the verge of bankruptcy. All the football clubs are going to be asking the government to do something. Now we're sort of talking about possibly the clubs taking the Premier League to court, and whether they will be losing money as well, whether be imposed fines. The fact of the matter is, I think this is what we've all got to understand, is that one hand feeds another, and feeds another. And ultimately, all that generates income, generates movement in the economy, and also generates taxation. Taxation which then flows up to the government, so then they can pay for everything. Well, if nobody's earning money, if people are not allowed to earn money and not continue in their daily lives, let's say, or businesses are not allowed to continue in their daily lives, then that upflow of money to the government is going to stop as well. So then they won't be able to pay for services, and basically we've got absolute chaos where the whole fabric of society breaks down. Yeah, that's a very cheery thought, isn't it? Look, I really wanted to talk about football, but I think it's one of those things that sometimes we've got to not just talk about football. We've got to talk about everything else that's going on. For many of the clubs out there, Brady, let's say, was coming out and saying we want the season to end now, and you know, all that kind of stuff. Let's just leave it as is, and we start again in August. Well, we don't know if we'll even be able to start again in the autumn, September, October. It might be even delayed too. So what do you do? Just scrap this season? So what about all the teams that were going to come up, or those going to get relegated? What happens there? What about the amount of money that's been invested? What about fans, the investiture in fans, and how much money they've paid? The report's coming out now that not only football clubs, I'm not talking about football clubs here, I'm just talking about businesses in general. If you've paid for something, let's say if you've got a season ticket, right? We've all got season tickets, and well, not all, but you know what I mean. If we've got season tickets, we might not be able to go to the games. So there's a real risk of whether we'll get any money back, whether we'll get any discount for next season. You know, this act of God, as you know, as we like to say in the business, possibly that's going to mean that we all lose out. The clubs don't get any revenue, but they're not going to pay us back for anything. They're not going to be able to claim off the government, and the government saying, hold on a minute, we can't pay for everything. But it's not just clubs. Let's just say you've got shows booked. You're going to go and see something, a concert, whatever. They have to cancel that. And they're basically saying, well, look, we can't just keep on paying out refunds because everybody's going to go bankrupt. But at the same time, if you haven't put on events, if you've cancelled it for whatever reason, then you have to, by rights really, you have to issue refunds, don't you? So in some quarters, you know, some departments would say, hey, look, you know, you've got to, don't ask for your money back, because otherwise if you ask for your money back, all these businesses are going to go bust. The problem is, what do you do? Does everybody say, okay, we've lost money, we hold our hands up, we take the knock? But then, you know, the knock-on effect, it's a lot more serious than people give this credit for. The impact on the economy and how will it affect people's lives will be so much more serious in my eyes than any of the virus. The virus will affect a very small percentage of people in terms of life-threatening risk. Obviously, everybody else will get it, of course. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be careful, and I'm not saying we should carry on our daily lives. All I'm saying is there's got to be a more sensible approach to it, of course. People, you know, are not going to be panic buying left and right and centre. I'll say, you know, if I was in power in government, one of the first things I would do is implement a dickhead tax or an idiot tax for people who are going out there just spending money on stuff that they really don't need. You know, buying up all the toilet roll, buying up all the pasta, buying up all the God knows whatever else. I mean, hand sanitizers, washers. I mean, Christ, you know, people, you know, get a grip on society, get a grip of what's going on. You know, everybody wants to, you know, get indoors because that's what the government are telling us to do and batten down the hatches. It's not a zombie apocalypse out there. It's a serious disease. It's a serious virus that's going around, of course. But if we paralyze society, then the knock-on effect is going to be that we'll be paralysed for years to come. And that's the problem. If you don't face this head on and try and keep on with your daily lives and keep on going, I don't have the answers. I don't know what the answers are. But if we relate to football, okay, if we relate to football and society, it's kind of, we have to talk about this together now and as one big thing. Was it right to stop the football? Yes, but could other measures have been put into place to say, right, look, you're going to have the games take place, or you will have the games take place, but you're going to test each individual player beforehand, or the squad, and those are the squad. If you've got any in the squad that are testing positive, for example, you isolate those. You train independently. You don't have group sessions, or you have wide group sessions. And then you go to the games and say, is there a way of putting on a game? And regardless of performance or whatever, you got 11 players on the pitch, you put another 11 players on the pitch, and you see if that can work. You know, it's desperation stakes, but at least you've got something that, you know, players can play, and then also, you know, the knock-on effect is that can generate incomes for other people as well. Now, the question I suppose you've got to ask is, well, should players carry on working, let's say, whilst everybody else isn't? But that's the point. most people are still going to go to work if they can. If they're not symptomatic, if they're not showing any symptoms, then, you know, I'm going to go to work. I'm still going to work if I'm able to, if I'm allowed to. Then this is my thinking. Just because they're, you know, footballers and a few have tested positive here and there, well, isolate those, but just carry on. Okay, should it be played behind closed doors? Yes, that's not a bad idea initially, but then you can still get people back in. When is this going to happen? When is it all going to start up again? If they're going to say they suspend the season, then you're going to have lots and lots of clubs that are either going to go out of business, or they're going to have a right to say, actually, no, that's not the way it should happen. So then we've got to say, okay, we extend it into the summer. Cancel the Euros until next year. Well, I would say, okay, if you're going to do that, just extend it into the summer. Just have the seasons, and then you start the next season at the same time. You just keep on going, or you finish the season, you just carry on with the next season. There's got to be a way of getting out of this paralysis that we've got ourselves into. You know, there is an overreaction on some regard, but there's also an overreaction from people panic buying. There's an overreaction from people not thinking logically about these things as well. You know, just carrying on regardless. Oh, it's nothing. It won't affect me. It's just the flu. It isn't just the flu. It's something different. But you can just combat it just by being sensible, and that's what we have to do with the players as well. Let's just be sensible about it. You know, Moyes, you know, he was hugging and kissing, let's say, Arteta, but he's come out of self-isolation. He hasn't got it as yet. The players haven't got it as yet. So that means that you've got players that are fully fit, let's say, and well, let's say if there's another team that is fully fit and we can play them, let's get the game on. Let's get this economy going again. You know, and then you isolate players for the rest of the time. You know, if that means that they have to stay away from their families or be separated to a certain degree, if they increase the level of testing on each individual player before and after and during the week, you know, that's it. And that's how you can replicate that kind of model across lots of businesses across the UK. Otherwise, you're going to have major disruption, major recession, global recession. If it's it might even be too late to avoid this global recession. As I record this now, by the time this goes out tonight, by the time you're watching this, things might have changed. That's the problem. Look, I didn't want to make this video about the coronavirus or COVID-19, and I didn't want to talk about the economy and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that if we, as a society, don't get on top of this and actually try and find a way to get life back to normal, whether we're dealing with something or not, we have to find a way to protect the most vulnerable, but we can't just be sitting idle. We have to do something, and we have to think about the businesses out there, all businesses out there, and football is a business. Let's not forget, yes, it's entertainment, but it is a business. And from the right at the entry level, right at the lower leagues, all the way coming up to the Premier League, there has to be a way to get games going and get them moving on. Yes, suspend it for a week, 2 weeks, understand that. But anything more than that, then you've got a major problem on your hands. This is exactly the same with any other business. The big corporations out there, the airlines, they may go bankrupt very, very soon. They may go bankrupt, and then everybody's asking for a handout from the government, but the government aren't going to be able to do anything. So it's up to you and I, everybody, to, you know, wherever you're from, whatever background you're from, to try and have a concerted effort to, one, protect yourselves. Of course, you must protect yourselves. You must be sensible about how you interact, how you do daily things, you know, your personal hygiene, all that kind of stuff. If you're not feeling well, then isolate yourself. But if you're feeling great, then just carry on. And it's one of those things. You know, there are already problems in society that needed fixing. This is just created a whole nother layer that we just didn't need. There are going to be people out there who will try and get an advantage on this. You know, we've already seen in some shops, you know, people looting, people, you know, stealing things, all that kind of stuff. And it probably will get a little bit worse until society comes together and says, look, this has got to stop. Some shops are already muting, or they will be implementing that they say, right, for the elderly and the infirm, they're going to have designated hours for only these people to go in. Well, let's see how that's policed as well. Let's see how that is monitored, because, you know, there are going to be people out there who will just want to go and, you know, think for themselves, and they won't think for others. That's what we need to do as football fans, as people, as members of society. We need to think of ourselves, but also think of the wider implications and the wider society. And that means thinking about West Ham, thinking about Maidenhead United, Billericay, whoever it is. You know, you've got to be thinking all the way through, right from the very top all the way from to the very bottom, because it's about one hand feeds the other. And if we don't do that, basically, we're all going to starve. Simple as that. Right, what can I say? I wanted to talk about football. We all want to talk about football, but, you know, there's lots more coming, I'm sure. Here on Irons United, we're going to be bringing you a lot more news as we have it, a lot more news from the club, what happens, and how it may affect us, and if there's any news about any new fixtures or new season or whatever. As I say, there is talks right now about season tickets, about renewals for next season. How's that going to happen? How's that going to work? Will fans be reimburse any kind of money? Will they not? Would any club have to do it? We'll bring you differences, how different clubs are reacting to this and how they're treating their fans. Can West Ham rise to the top? The owners, Goldsworth and Brady, of course, will they rise to the top and actually, for once in their lives, actually start treating the fans better? Will the club be able to survive this? Will all clubs be able to survive this? Who knows? But look, join us for more videos coming soon. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. If your business has been, if your work has been affected, let us know. And, you know, we're all in this together, I suppose. Well, until the next video, take it easy. Ta-da now.